We're going to review and test the Hornady Critical Duty in 40 Smith & Wesson, 175 grains jacketed hollow point. Now the Critical Duty is not to be confused with the Critical Defense. So let's get that straightened out right now. Got it? Everybody okay with that? All right. Those opening shots were from the Glock 23 4-inch barrel, and those shots felt somewhat mild to me, less than 165 grain loads, a little bit more than 180s, and my 5-shot chronograph average on a separate shooting session came in at 967 feet per second. My best or fastest shot was the first one out of that group, and that was at 987, but all of these are coming in well below the advertised, which is 1,025 feet per second on the packaging, and as of this upload date, 1,010 feet per second as noted on the website. So it's a mild shooter, and just by comparison, when you look at 180 grain loads from just about any other manufacturer, I can get those to clock in well over 1,000 feet per second. Quick comparison, then we will have the test shot, 175 grain Critical Duty on the left, 165 grain Critical Defense on the right. Can you keep this straight? Both have somewhat of a truncated cone design on the bullet, but the lines to me seem straighter on the Critical Duty and more rounded or curved on the Critical Defense over here. Also, let me zoom in so we can show that. The hollow point cavity on the Critical Duty is much larger than on the Critical Defense, that flex tip that's in there. Also, both have a cantilever. There's one other element that's not evident here. We'll see that when we recover the bullet in just a moment from the gel, and that is there's going to be an interlocking band, or what they call an interlock band. It's about right there on the bullet. That's tying this jacket to the core of the bullet. The core, by the way, is a very hard lead. It has a chemical element added to it so it doesn't deform as easily, and that's one reason why this bullet did very well in the FBI barrier penetration test. So the next barrier for this is a block of SIM-TEST Media calibrated to ballistic gel specs, 4 layers of denim from 10 feet. Had some good shots on the target out there, but coming in closer, I am just a little bit to the left, but it's in the block. Don't pass through. Let's go find it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to focus on the right side of the track first, because as I was cutting, this produced the best definition on the wound channel. Then we'll move up to the left side of the track. Expansion begins about a 1/2 inch in, and then you really see it start to take off here as it really expanded. This is typically what we see in these JHPs. This cavity runs about 4.5 inches in length, and it is consistently right at 1/2 inch wide all the way through. A little bit of denim that's blown in, but not a lot, because we don't have an exposed hollow point cavity. We have that tip riding on top of that. These channels run maybe a 1/2 inch deep, so we're getting some expansion there. So again, some good definition. Now let's go up to this one, and obviously this is just the other half of it, but not as well defined, and that's due to the nature of how I was cutting. So 5, 6, 7 inches moving along as the bullet continues to spin slowly, making a turn, and that's how I found it. So if you measure this to the nose of the actual lead core, it's going to come in about 15 1/4. If you take it all the way out to that tip, you can see how that really ripped apart. It's going to come in about 15 1/2. Show you the natural state of how this stopped. Let me do something off camera and get this out and give you a clearer picture of it before we get it measured. Just remove this from the stopping point, so I haven't cleaned it up yet, but you can see that tip tried to wrap around the bullet. Sometimes you'll see these dislodge, but they will travel with the bullet and stop just in front of it. This one hung on there for a little bit. Pretty good expansion. Don't see any signs of jacket separation. This one is holding together very well, and I'm really not expecting a lot of deviation between those points. This one is looking pretty good. There's the high end on expansion, but the average is 0.594, quite symmetrical. How about that? Retained weight is coming in exactly 175 grains. Going back to my comments at the beginning of the video, I sort of stepped around that, but think about this. If you've got a shorter barrel gun, such as a Glock 27, dropping down to about 3.5 inch barrel, you might come out around 950 feet per second on this. So that's something I'm a little, I don't want to say concerned, but I find it perplexing that they're loading this at this level when you can get 180 grain loads that are coming in well over 1,000 feet per second. So I want to throw that out there, so just be mindful of that. As far as performance, well, it did well, so who gives a crap about the velocity? Excellent penetration without over-penetrating. The controlled expansion was beautiful, just to put it bluntly. That interlock band is performing as designed. We didn't have any jacket separation, so in this test, all these design elements that they built into it to do what it did, it's doing it. So Hornady is obviously getting into the bonded bullet market for self-defense without selling us a bonded bullet. Thanks for watching.